Imagine a ship, a United States Navy destroyer escort, cutting through the waves, a symbol of American might during World War II. These vessels were the workhorses of the fleet, protecting convoys and hunting submarines. This particular ship, the USS Eldridge, docked in the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard, 1943. A hive of activity, the shipyard buzzed with the energy of wartime production, a place where steel and sweat forged the tools of victory. The Eldridge, like many others, was undergoing routine maintenance in preparation for its next mission. But on one fateful day, something extraordinary, something inexplicable occurred. Suddenly, a strange, greenish-blue glow envelops the vessel. It wasn't the familiar arc of welding torches or the reflection of the city lights. This was something altogether different, an otherworldly luminescence. The air crackles with energy, an almost palpable force that makes the hairs on your neck stand on end. The very atmosphere seems charged, vibrating with an unseen power. In a flash of light, blinding and intense, and a swirl of fog, thick and unnatural, it's gone. The ship simply disappears from its moorings, leaving behind only bewildered onlookers and unanswered questions. Vanished, not just from sight but from reality itself, as if plucked from existence, leaving no trace, no wreckage, just an empty space where a warship once stood. This isn't science fiction, though it sounds like the plot of a fantastical novel. This is the legend that's haunted history for over 80 years, the Philadelphia experiment. A tale whispered in hushed tones, debated in online forums and immortalized in books and films. The story gets stranger, defying logic and challenging our understanding of the universe. Hundreds of miles away, at the Norfolk Naval Base in Virginia, sailors reportedly saw the Eldridge appear out of thin air, materializing as if from another dimension, only to vanish again, leaving witnesses stunned and bewildered. Back in Philadelphia, the ship reappeared, seemingly as suddenly as it had disappeared, but something was terribly wrong. The ordeal had left its mark. The sailors who returned were said to be violently ill, suffering from a range of physical and psychological trauma, some driven insane by what they had experienced. Others fused into the very metal of the ship, trapped between dimensions, a horrifying testament to the experiment's failure. It's a gruesome image, a chilling scenario that makes you question the boundaries of our world and the limits of scientific ambition. This single, alleged event has become a cornerstone of modern conspiracy and paranormal lore, a story that continues to captivate and intrigue. It weaves together top-secret military projects shrouded in secrecy and fueled by wartime urgency, Einstein's theories, hinting at the potential to manipulate space and time, and the terrifying possibilities of science gone too far, where the pursuit of knowledge eclipses ethical considerations. Was the Philadelphia experiment a real attempt to bend the laws of physics, to render a ship invisible to radar, or just a naval legend spun from rumors, misinterpretations, and the fog of war? To find the truth, we have to peel back the layers of secrecy, navigate through conflicting accounts, and travel back to a world at war, and dive into one of the most enduring mysteries of the 20th century, a puzzle that continues to baffle researchers and enthusiasts alike. Let's get into it, and see if we can separate fact from fiction. To truly grasp the enigma that is the Philadelphia experiment, a deeper understanding is required. We need to journey back in time to the very crucible in which this alleged experiment was forged. You have to understand its world, the backdrop against which these events supposedly unfolded. The early 1940s, World War II raging, a conflict that engulfed the globe and pushed nations to their limits. It was a time of immense pressure and a desperate race for technological supremacy. Every nation was vying for an edge, pouring resources into scientific endeavors, hoping to unlock the secrets that could turn the tide of war. This was the era of the Manhattan Project, a top-secret undertaking to develop the atomic bomb, a weapon that would forever change the world. The Germans were developing the V-2 rocket, a terrifying weapon that could strike targets hundreds of miles away, and the Enigma machine, a complex cipher device that protected German communications until Allied codebreakers managed to crack it. It was a time when the impossible seemed possible, when the boundaries of science were being pushed further than ever before. The Battle of the Atlantic was critical, the lifeline between North America and Europe. German U-boats were devastating Allied shipping, sinking vital supplies and crippling the war effort, threatening to cut off Britain, starving the island nation of essential resources. The Allies desperately needed a way to protect their convoys, to shield them from the relentless U-boat attacks. ideally to make their ships invisible to the enemy, rendering them undetectable to both sight and technology. The pressure to innovate was immense, a constant race against time and the enemy. No idea was too outlandish, no concept too far-fetched to be considered. Radar was the new threat, a game-changing technology that allowed for the detection of ships and aircraft at great distances, allowing enemies to detect ships from miles away, negating many of the traditional methods of naval warfare. So, invisibility wasn't just about vanishing from sight, it was about more than just visual deception. It was about disappearing from radar, becoming undetectable to this new and powerful technology. Scientists experimented with degaussing ships to avoid mines, reducing their magnetic signature to prevent triggering these deadly underwater weapons. Could similar principles make a ship vanish from radar? Could electromagnetic fields be manipulated to bend or distort radar waves? In this climate of high-stakes innovation and secrecy, where the pursuit of victory justified almost any risk, the seeds of the Philadelphia experiment were sown, nurtured in the fertile ground of wartime desperation and scientific ambition. When governments were building atomic bombs in secret, conducting experiments that could unleash unimaginable power, is it so far-fetched to believe they explored stranger science? To think that they might have delved into areas that defied conventional understanding? The lines between established physics and wild possibility were blurring, as scientists pushed the boundaries of what was known and what was believed to be possible. The urgency of war created a space where radical ideas could be tested, where the normal rules and regulations were often suspended in the name of national security, and sometimes go terribly wrong, with unforeseen and potentially catastrophic consequences. At the heart of the legend, the very core of this bizarre tale, is Albert Einstein, a name synonymous with genius. He was rumored to be working on a unified field theory, a concept so revolutionary, so groundbreaking that it could rewrite the rules of physics as we knew them. This theory aimed to create a single, elegant equation uniting the seemingly disparate forces of electromagnetism and gravity, a holy grail of physics. The Navy, in the throes of World War II, and desperate for any technological edge it could find, allegedly saw immense military potential hidden within Einstein's theoretical ideas. They believed it could be the key to winning the war. The thinking was, if you could somehow control these fundamental forces of nature, could you manipulate the very fabric of reality? Could you bend light around a ship, rendering it invisible? Make it invisible, not just to radar but even to the human eye, a ghost ship, undetectable and untouchable. The plan, a daring, almost unbelievable scheme, was to equip a ship with massive, powerful electromagnetic generators, the likes of which had never been seen before. The goal to create an intensely powerful electromagnetic field that would warp space-time itself around the vessel. Light and radar waves, instead of bouncing off the ship's hull, would bend completely around it, effectively making the ship vanish from sight. The USS Eldridge, a Cannon-class destroyer escort, was chosen as the guinea pig for this audacious and potentially disastrous experiment. No one truly knew what the consequences would be if you generated such a powerful and unnatural field, especially to the crew trapped inside this swirling vortex of electromagnetic energy. The scientists, driven by ambition and the urgency of war, were venturing into completely unknown territory, and the sailors, young and trusting, were essentially the unwitting test subjects in a potentially deadly game. The Navy, blinded by the promise of victory, was gambling with the very laws of nature, and more importantly, with the lives of its own men, the brave sailors who served their country. All for the tantalizing promise of a revolutionary weapon, a weapon that could potentially change the course of the war, and perhaps the entire world. October 28, 1943, Philadelphia Naval Shipyard. The USS Eldridge sits at its mooring, humming with strange energy. Massive generators are powered up. Navy officials and scientists watch, tense. According to eyewitnesses, the experiment began with a low hum that grew into a deafening roar. A greenish-blue fog bubbled up, glowing around the ship. The ship's outline shimmered, then became transparent, a ghostly silhouette. With a flash of blue light, it vanished. Only an empty space remained on the water. At that moment, sailors in Norfolk, Virginia, reportedly saw the Eldridge appear in the harbor, then vanish again. Back in Philadelphia, the controllers panicked. The ship was supposed to become invisible, not teleport. Minutes later, the Eldridge reappeared, shrouded in eerie green fog. As the fog cleared, a scene of horror was revealed. The Navy's breakthrough had become a nightmare. The true cost of bending the laws of physics was about to be revealed. When the generators shut down and the fog cleared, rescue teams boarded the Eldridge and found chaos. Sailors were screaming, some catatonic, others missing entirely. The most infamous accounts: men fused into the ship's structure, alive but trapped, their bodies embedded in steel. Some crew members vanished, never seen again. Others would phase in and out of visibility for days. A few reportedly combusted spontaneously. The mental toll was catastrophic. Many survivors were institutionalized for life. The Navy allegedly covered it up, swearing survivors to secrecy, altering logs, and decommissioning the Eldridge. The story was meant to be buried, but secrets this big have a way of getting out. Whispers began to spread. The legend was born. For years, the Philadelphia experiment was just a rumor until Carlos Allende sent bizarre letters to UFO researcher Morris Jessup. Allende claimed to have witnessed the experiment, describing the green fog and the crew's fate in chilling detail. The Navy's Office of Naval Research received a copy of Jessup's book, annotated with Allende's notes, and printed a special edition, the Varro edition, fueling speculation. Decades later, Al Bielek claimed he was actually Edward Cameron, a crewman who jumped overboard and traveled through time to 1983. Bielek's story connected the Philadelphia experiment to the Montauk Project, alleged secret research into time travel and mind control. These voices from the shadows kept the legend alive, adding new layers of mystery and conspiracy. The story grew, evolving with each new claim. The U.S. Navy has always denied the Philadelphia experiment ever happened, calling it a science fiction hoax. Official logs show the Eldridge was nowhere near Philadelphia on the alleged date. Skeptics point to degaussing, a real wartime procedure to reduce a ship's magnetic signature, as the likely source of the story. Carl Allen, the key witness, was later revealed to be unreliable, with a history of fabricating stories. The Navy's interest in his annotated book was likely just due diligence. In this light, the Philadelphia experiment becomes a case study in how a single story can take on a life of its own. The story doesn't end in Philadelphia. Enter the Montauk Project, the alleged sequel, taking the weirdness to new heights. Believers claim the research continued at Camp Hero, Long Island, evolving into experiments in mind control, time travel, and contact with extraterrestrials. The Montauk Chair, a device said to amplify psychic abilities, became the centerpiece of these claims. Al Bielek and Preston Nichols alleged horrific experiments, secret government agendas, and even battles with monsters from the mind. For skeptics, it's just one hoax building on another. For believers, Montauk is the key to a much larger, darker agenda. So what are we left with? Official denial, plausible explanations, and an unreliable witness. Logically, the case seems closed. A naval ghost story born from wartime secrecy and imagination. Yet the story persists. Why? Maybe because it taps into our fascination with the unknown, the idea that reality can be bent, that secrets lie just out of reach. It's a story about humanity reaching for forbidden power and suffering the consequences. The legend also feeds our distrust of authority and belief in hidden truths. Ultimately, the Philadelphia experiment is less about fact versus fiction, and more about the power of belief. It's modern folklore, a campfire tale for the technological age. Whether the Eldridge ever vanished or not, the story endures. A ghostly ship forever sailing the waters of our imagination. What if?